So let's go over some practice questions to see if you can determine when you need to cite or not. If you do fairly well on this, then you know you're ready to take the quiz. You summarize your uncle's account of life in a Vietnamese prison camp. You need to cite it because it is not your experience, it's that of your uncle's. Of course, a citation could be as simple as "my uncle once told me." So it can be informal, or it could be a formal one where you have it on a works cited page. You state that in the 1960s there was a great deal of opposition to the war. You didn't know that coming into it, but every single source you open up talks about that opposition. So you get to a feeling that it's part of common knowledge, so you don't need to cite it. You narrate your observations from your visit you made to contemporary Vietnam. It's your own experiences, so you don't need to cite it. You read several articles and support your contention that Johnson should have pulled out of the war with opinions and information from these articles. So even though it's your opinion that Johnson should have pulled out, because you're going and using other opinions and information from these articles to bolster your position, you need to cite that. You mention in your paper all the countries that were involved in the Vietnam War. You don't need to cite it even if you had to look that up. To support your thesis statement, you use statistics from a web page with no author. You still need to cite it. Just because it doesn't have an author doesn't mean that it's not information that exists and has been provided, so you always need to cite it. You conduct a survey of students around the campus about their knowledge of the Vietnam War and use the statistics that you gathered in your paper. So even though you gathered it, you've created a data set, and if you remember, data sets still need to be cited. If you did something like this, you would go and give it a name, put it in your works cited as a survey, and then you can use it and cite the information in your paper. You quote a phrase that is considered a cliche. You've known this quote most of your life. You don't need to cite it. It's considered common knowledge. Even if the cliche isn't really well known, but you know it as a cliche, you don't have to cite it. You state the date that the United States entered the Vietnam War. Again, even if you have to look it up, you don't need to cite it as a U.S. citizen writing about the Vietnam War. You state your conclusions about whether the United States was right to enter the war or not. You don't need to cite this. This is strictly your opinion, even if you base it on other information. But the opinion part of it doesn't need to be cited. So hopefully this gives you an idea of whether you're well prepared to take the quiz. The questions will be much of the same type as what you've seen here. Again, rewatch the video if you'd like to review the questions.